Today is July 11, 2022. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, disappointing news today. This morning, the Reproductive Freedom for All, that's the coalition that has launched that pro-abortion petition drive to put on the November ballot a referendum that would legalize abortion up to fetal viability. They handed over their petitions today. This was the deadline. Well, they handed over 753,000 signatures. Admittedly, a huge number. I mean, it's a huge number. And you got to read the tea leaves here. That most likely, once the State Board of Canvassers goes through them and picks out the ballots they want to check for validation, that most likely they're going to get the 425,000 signatures they needed. So we have to face the grim reality that come November, this is going to be on the ballot, this referendum. And, I was looking at an article this afternoon on MLive, their website, and it said that 62,000 people were petition circulators in Michigan. And of that number, 30,000 came on board after the leaked Dobbs draft, the Alito draft back in the first week of May. After that was released, 30,000 people jumped on board. So half of them came on late in the game, so to speak. But, I ran into a circulator at outside of the UPS store by Target in Kalamazoo. And, I was explaining to her, the whole issue of viability and how unreliable it is or how vague it is as a constitutional term. And she argued that, her whole focus was on the morning after pill. If you had sex, or if you were assaulted, whatever, within the first 2 or 3 days, you could get a pill to end the pregnancy. Well, when I said to her that this referendum takes the issue all the way to viability, she said, well, that's not right. I don't support abortion up to viability. So then I asked her the key question, are you being paid? And she said, yes. So, even though she most likely would not support the parameters of the petition that she is circulating, she still did it because she was getting paid $22 an hour. So, when Right to Life conducts their petitions, they get people who are volunteers, people who are committed to the pro-life cause. And, we don't get paid. And we're committed. We search out people who we know are pro-life and we get their signatures. But the other side will hire people, hirelings, who don't really have a stake in the issue, who may not even be pro-choice. But these people may be poor, they may have some financial hardships, and they will do it because they need the cash. So, be that as it may, there are 750,000 signatures, and we have to face the fact that this November it's got to be on the ballot. Now, Right to Life in Michigan has linked arms with the Michigan Catholic Conference to form their own coalition. I'm going to get the right name here. It is called the Citizens to Support Women and Children. The Citizens Committee to Support Women and Children. And that's going to be the parent coalition. And I'm sure other pro-family and pro-life and maybe some other denominations will come on board to be a part of this coalition to reject the referendum that's going to be on the ballot this November. Good news from Louisiana and Indiana, two states that had pro-life laws. The other side would call them trigger laws. The ones Roe was overturned. These states that had pro-life laws in effect, they automatically took effect again after Dobbs. Well, state judges stepped in Indiana and Louisiana to block enforcement of these pro-life laws. Well, on Thursday and Friday of last week, judges lifted that temporary injunction. So Louisiana and Indiana have now rejoined about 8 or 9 other states in banning abortions. So thank you to these judges, and thank you to Louisiana and Indiana for being pro-life. And going back to the Michigan, this petition drive and this referendum, had the other side not launched this petition, our 1846/1931 pro-life law that bans abortions throughout all 9 months of pregnancy except for the physical life of the mother, that law would have taken effect immediately. But because of the governor's actions and the state blocking enforcement of that, our law is now in limbo, and it will be in limbo until this November vote. And another thought, the Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, she's quite a character. She has already said on record that if Roe is overturned and the Michigan law from 1846, 1931, that law took effect again, she would not enforce that law. Now here's an attorney general from a major state. Michigan is a major state. And she has said that she will not enforce a law that has been passed by the Michigan legislature. And, I got to thinking, in 1973, I mentioned this to you, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago. In 1973, when Roe v. Wade was decided, 4 states out of the 50, 4 states had repealed their pro-life laws. New York, Washington, Alaska, and Hawaii. And basically, abortion was legal upon request. In 13 other states, abortion was legal with very limited guidelines for rape, for incest, for fetal deformity. Most of these 13 states had residency requirements. Usually you had to live in the state for 90 days to be able to qualify to get one of these hardship case abortions. And obviously that eliminated any other woman who would want to travel from a pro-life state to one of these states, because you had to live there for 90 days. Well, that's not practical. So here's the point I'm trying to make. The Supreme Court in Roe v. Wade, they basically said, you 4 states are right to repeal your laws, and you other 56 states are all wrong. Even the ones that had reformed these modest changes. They took the 4 and rejected the 46. They rejected 46 state laws on abortion. And I find that quite undemocratic, you might say. But in a state like, let's say Michigan, back in 1973, that had a pro-life law and actually had just passed a pro-life referendum by a vote of 61 to 39 that rejected a liberal abortion up to viability, or up to like the 5th month, I guess it was. We had no choice. If we had a pro-life attorney general in 1973 and said, we're not going to enforce the Roe v. Wade decision. I'm instructing our county prosecutors that if someone is performing an abortion in one of our counties, that abortionist is going to be prosecuted. Did that happen? Well, you know darn well it did not happen. States had no choice but to comply with the guidelines established by the Supreme Court in their Roe decision. So I find it quite offensive that Dana Nessel would say that she is not going to enforce the law. If the Dobbs decision says that the issue has gone back to the states, and the states either have pre-existing laws or pass new laws that would ban the procedure, because now the states have that freedom, those attorney generals are obligated to follow the dictates of that state legislature. And I really believe if this pro-abortion reproductive freedom for all, if their referendum loses in November, if the other side loses, Dana Nessel had better obey the law. She's the Attorney General, and she better obey the law. Well, with that, I am going to let you go, and I will see you next time.